start. I'd like to warmly welcome everyone here. Today, my name is Lois Sombondo. I'm the Senior Legal Officer employed by the South African Human Rights Commission. I'll be the facilitator of this event. Today's event marks the official launch of the South African Human Rights Investigation Report into water and sanitation crisis here in Makana, under the Makana municipality. The report is a culmination of the extensive investigation undertaken by the South African Human Rights Commission as from 2023, following numerous complaints that we received from the residents of Makana, which were concerning persistent challenges relating to access to water and sanitation within Makana. So the purpose of today's event is for the Commission to publicly release its findings and recommendations. We'll also provide an opportunity for stakeholders to engage the Commission on its findings and recommendations. The program which is before us, we would start with an official opening and purpose of the event, which will be done by the Provincial Manager here in the Eastern Cape of the Human Rights Commission, Dr. Eileen Carter. It will follow by a brief summary. Please bear with us when we doing the summary of the report. It will also be done by Dr. Carter, and then we'll go to the findings and recommendations, which will be done by our National Commissioner, Commissioner Dr. Heng Boshoff. Then we'll go to question and answer session. Then it will be closure. I'm sure even those that they do not have the agenda before them, at least they now understand the business of today. But before I introduce my panel, I want just to check firstly the institutions that we invited today. I see Makana and acknowledge the presence of the Executive Mayor and MM and your team. I see the Department of Cooperative Governance as well, Dr. Ferreira from Department of Water and Sanitation. I just want to check whether is there someone from Sarah Patman. They have confirmed attendance. I just want to check if the official is here already. Sarah Patman? Okay, no one yet. I want to check what Amatola Water Board. Is there someone from Amatola Water Board? We invited the CEO to come. Amatola? Okay, no one yet. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the panel consists of, on my right, it's Dr. Eileen Carter, who is the Provincial Manager of the Eastern Cape Provincial Office, and also Commissioner Dr. Heng Boshoff, who's the National Commissioner, and his focal area is on water and sanitation. Next to Commissioner, but is not part of the is not part of the panel for the release of the report, but is Commissioner's advisor, Mr. Pismo Modi. So, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any more time, I will now hand over to Dr. Carter to welcome you and also speak just a bit about the purpose of today. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Atwin Mpondo. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this very cold morning for a very important purpose. Once again, good morning, Commissioner Boshoff, distinguished guests, representatives of government, civil society organizations, members of the media, and residents of Makana. Thank you for joining us. The South African Human Rights Commission is one of South Africa's Chapter 9 institutions established under the Constitution to strengthen constitutional democracy. In terms of Section 184 of the Constitution, the Commission is mandated to promote respect for human rights, promote the protection, development, and attainment of human rights, monitor and assess the observance of human rights, investigate alleged human rights violations, and secure appropriate redress where rights have been infringed. This investigation is an example of that constitutional mandate in action. From 2023, as Advocate Mpondo has indicated onwards, the Commission received a growing number of complaints from residents, businesses, civil society organizations, and community stakeholders concerning recurrent water outages, sewage spillages, inadequate sanitation services, deteriorating infrastructure, unsafe environmental conditions, and the continued use of the bucket system within parts of the Makana municipality. The complaints came from different communities across Makanda, Alisdale, Riebeek East, and surrounding areas. They affected households, schools, healthcare facilities, businesses, student residences, and vulnerable communities. Despite originating from different sources, they told a remarkably similar story, a prolonged and worsening crisis, unfortunately, in the delivery of basic services. In response, the Commission initiated a provincial investigation in terms of the South African Human Rights Commission Act and the Commission's complaints handling procedures. This was not a desktop exercise, colleagues. The investigation extended over a period of almost 3 years and involved extensive engagements with affected communities and institutions. The Commission received and analyzed more than 30 complaints and stakeholder submissions, conducted monitoring visits in affected communities, convened stakeholder engagements, issued requests for information, and ultimately exercised subpoena powers on 2 occasions to obtain evidence under oath. The Commission engaged directly with Makana Municipality, the Department of Water and Sanitation, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Office of the Premier, Sarah Bartman, District Municipality, and Amatola Water. We further considered evidence and submission from the university, the AG, civil society organizations, business formations, community structured, and affected residents. The purpose of the investigation was not merely to determine whether water outages or sewage spillages had occurred. Rather, the Commission sought to assess whether the municipality was fulfilling in its constitutional and statutory obligations relating to access to sufficient water, sanitation services, environmental protection, human dignity, and accountable governance. We also sought to assess whether many interventions implemented not only by the municipality but by provincial and national government over the years had succeeded in restoring sustainable service delivery. What emerged from the investigation is what our Commissioner Boshoff will take us through a little bit later. So today we release the findings and recommendations arising from this investigation, and the report reflects the evidence placed before the Commission, the applicable legal framework, and our assessment of what is required to protect the rights of the people of Makana going forward. It is our sincere hope that this report contributes to meaningful accountability, sustainable reform, most importantly, the restoration of constitutional rights of communities who have, it appears, endured these conditions for far too long. Colleagues and members of the community, that is our purpose and introduction of this day. And as Advocate Mpondo has already alluded to, it is mine now to take you through a summary of this report. I do ask for your patience. As you've heard now, it has been an extensive investigation. The report, there are copies of this report which will be circulated in a few minutes to, we do not have enough, to a few of you. And the report is basically 48 pages. And mine is going to be to take you through some of the most important processes and the culmination of the investigation. I'm not going to take you through each and every bundle of evidence. You can access the report by 11 o'clock. The report will be available online as well, and the copies that have been distributed. But mine is going to be to take you through the assessment of the submissions that was received by the Commission, I'm going to make quick reference to the legal framework, and then I'm going to touch on the legal analysis. After that, I'm going to hand over to Commissioner Boshoff, who will take you through the findings the Commission is making in respect of this investigation, as well as our recommendations. Commissioner, with that being said, colleagues and members of the community, I'm going to start going through this report. The Commission considered the totality of the evidence obtained during the investigation, including complaints received from affected communities, sworn testimony presented during subpoena proceedings, written submissions from Makana and relevant government departments, monitoring observations, stakeholder representations, and supporting documentation obtained from independent institutions. Considered collectively, the evidence before the Commission demonstrates a sustained pattern of instability in the provision of water and sanitation services within Makana. While the submissions received differed in emphasis and institutional perspective, there was substantial consistency regarding the existence, duration, and seriousness of the reported conditions affecting the municipality. The Commission accepts that Makana operates within a broader local government environment marked by financial, technical, and infrastructure constraints. However, the evidence in this matter goes beyond ordinary resource limitations. It demonstrates a sustained failure to plan, maintain, operate, account, and implement corrective measures in respect of essential water and sanitation infrastructure. The issue is therefore not merely scarcity of resources, but the ineffective use, management, and governance of available resources and support measures. The evidence further demonstrates that critical infrastructure, including pump stations, water treatment works, and wastewater treatment facilities, has repeatedly operated below functional capacity due to inadequate maintenance, operational instability, delayed repairs, and institutional shortcomings affecting infrastructure management. The evidence further demonstrates significant deterioration of wastewater treatment infrastructure within Makana, including recurring sewage spillages, operational failures of wastewater treatment facilities, infrastructure collapse, and associated environmental contamination risks affecting surrounding communities and public spaces. The Commission further notes that these conditions persisted, notwithstanding extensive support, oversight, and intervention measures implemented by provincial and national government departments over a prolonged period. These measures included regulatory directives by the Department of Water and Sanitation, contemplated court proceedings relating to wastewater pollution, technical secondments, infrastructure funding allocations, implementation of the James Kleinhans bulk water supply scheme, emergency water supply interventions, governance support initiatives, regulatory oversight measures, and the implementation of a financial recovery plan in terms of Section 1395 of the Constitution. The cumulative evidence demonstrates that although significant interventions, funding commitments, and infrastructure upgrades were implemented, these measures have not translated into sustained, reliable, and constitutional compliant water and sanitation services throughout Makana. While certain infrastructure projects achieved measurable outputs, including upgrades to the wastewater infrastructure, treatment infrastructure, increased treatment capacity, and improvements to specific components of the municipal water system, the evidence before the Commission demonstrates that these interventions have not resulted in sustained institutional stability. The information obtained from the AG South Africa further demonstrates persistent and systemic governance, financial management, and administrative failures within Makana. These include repeated audit disclaimers, unreliable financial reporting, ineffective internal controls, persistent non-compliance with legislative obligations, and failures to implement corrective measures despite repeated audit findings, escalation processes, and oversight interventions. The Commission further notes that the findings of the Department of Water and Sanitation's Green Drop Report 2025 reinforce the concerns identified during this investigation regarding wastewater infrastructure deterioration, operational instability, inadequate maintenance, governance failures, and environmental contamination risks. The Green Drop Report identifies recurring sewage spillages, dysfunctional wastewater systems, weak technical capacity, inadequate preventative maintenance, Poor asset management and persistent environmental non-compliance as key systemic risks affecting wastewater treatment systems nationally. The evidence obtained during the investigation demonstrates that vulnerable groups, including children, older persons, residents of informal settlements, and persons residing in high-lying areas were disproportionately affected by recurring service delivery failures due to their heightened dependence on reliable municipal services and limited access to alternative arrangements. The Commission further notes evidence indicating the continued or recurring use of the bucket system and the alternative emergency sanitation arrangements in certain affected areas during periods of prolonged sanitation infrastructure failure and water supply interruptions. The Commission is concerned that such conditions undermine human dignity, expose affected communities to unsafe and unhealthy conditions, and reflect the severity and persistence of the sanitation challenges identified during the investigation. The Commission further notes that the persistence of these conditions has significantly undermined public confidence in municipal governance and institutional accountability. Stakeholder engagements and complaints consistently reflected concerns regarding inadequate communication, delayed response to service delivery failures, and the absence of sustained corrective measures. Considered cumulatively, the evidence demonstrates persistent and interconnected failures affecting water supply, sanitation services, wastewater management, infrastructure maintenance, financial governance, technical capacity, and institutional accountability. These failures are systemic in nature and have materially impaired Makana's ability to provide water and sanitation services in a sustained, effective, and constitutionally compliant manner. I'm not going to go into the applicable legislative framework. You are advised to go through these submissions and the framework itself. The Commission bases its findings, legal analysis, and recommendations squarely on the legislative framework, as well as applicable case law. I'm going to continue straight into our legal analysis. The Constitution guarantees everyone the right of access to sufficient water and the right to an environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being, and requires the state to take reasonable legislative and other measures within available resources to progressively realize these rights. These obligations extend directly to local government, which bears primary operational responsibility for the provision and management of basic municipal services, including water supply, sanitation, and wastewater management. The evidence obtained during the investigation demonstrates prolonged and recurring failures in the provision of water and sanitation services within Makana, including extended water outages, recurring sewage spillages, wastewater treatment failures, deteriorating infrastructure, and inadequate sanitation conditions affecting households, schools, healthcare facilities, businesses, and vulnerable communities over several years. These conditions materially impair access to sufficient water and undermine the rights to dignity, environmental protection, and basic services. The Commission further finds that the conditions identified during the investigation are not isolated or temporary operational disruptions, but reflect systemic and sustained failures affecting infrastructure management. Considered cumulatively, again, the evidence demonstrates a persistent inability to maintain reliable and sustainable water and sanitation services consistent with constitutional obligations. The statutory framework governing water services further reinforces these constitutional obligations. In terms of the Water Services Act, water service authorities are required to ensure the effective, sustainable, and equitable provision of water and sanitation services and to perform these functions with a requisite institutional and technical capacity. The evidence obtained during the investigations demonstrates recurring infrastructure failures. So basically a non-compliance with the statutory duties imposed upon by the water services authorities. Section 63 of the Water Services Act expressly contemplates intervention where a water services authority has not effectively performed functions imposed upon it under the Act. The evidence before the Commission demonstrates prolonged and recurring failures thereto. The evidence further demonstrates significant deterioration in wastewater treatment infrastructure. These conditions create continuing risks to health. The Green Drop report, which I've already referenced, the findings from the AG regarding Mayfield, Allisdale, Belmont Valley wastewater treatment works, together with the evidence obtained from complaints monitoring activities, demonstrate conditions inconsistent with Section 24 of the Constitution, Section 19 of the National Water Act, and Section 28 of the National Environmental Management Act. The Commission further notes that the multiple support, oversight and intervention measures have been implemented within Makana over a prolonged period. These measures included, as we've referenced, technical secondments, infrastructure funding allocations, governance support initiatives, and emergency stabilization interventions, regulatory oversight measures, and the implementation of the financial recovery in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution. Notwithstanding these measures, the evidence before the Commission demonstrates that significant water and sanitation service delivery failures persisted. In one of the cases that the Commission relies on, and the famous Grootboom matter, and I just quickly want to cite this, the Constitutional Court confirmed that the state is required to adopt and implement reasonable measures capable of effectively realizing the socio-economic rights in practice. Similarly, in another case, a very famous case, the Mazibuko matter, the court emphasized that the reasonableness inquiry focuses not merely on the existence of policies and plans, but on whether the measures implemented are effective in securing access to services in practice. The Commission recognizes that intervention under Section 139 of the Constitution constitutes an exceptional constitutional measure. However, again, the evidence obtained during the investigation demonstrates prolonged and systemic failures affecting the provision of basic municipal services and repeated support and intervention measures implemented over the years. In another matter we cite in the Premier of the Western Cape versus Oeverberg District Municipality, the Supreme Court of Appeal confirmed that Section 139 of the Constitution confers a wide discretion on the provincial executive to take appropriate steps to address a municipality's failure to fulfill its obligations. The court further held that dissolution constitutes a measure of last resort and that less intrusive measures must first be considered and assessed. The Commission finds that multiple less supportive and intervention measures have already been implemented within the Makana municipality over extended periods of time. I'm now going to hand over to Commissioner Boshoff to take you through the findings of the summary that I've provided, but you are at liberty to go through the report, the steps taken, the assessments that we've made, and also the consultative process that was undertaken for you to understand the context of why we reached the findings that Commissioner Boshoff is now going to provide to this House. Commissioner Boshoff is then going to go through the recommendations, what we are proposing and tabling, and which Commissioner Boshoff will also take forward on what we intend to do with this report. And we ask for your indulgence again. It's a lot of reading, but I think it is worth for you to take note of how we proceeded in respect of these, this investigation and the findings and recommendations. Commissioner Boshoff, thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Thank you also to our facilitator, Advocate Luiso Mpondo. And good morning, everyone. Good morning to the Makana local municipality under the leadership of the Executive Mayor, but also very importantly, and I think most importantly, the residents of Makana, the communities of Makana, all the stakeholders in attendance. We really appreciate and value your presence here this morning. As Dr. Carter indicated, I will be presenting the findings and recommendations, and also make a few comments with regards to the findings and recommendations. Right, with regards to the findings, ladies and gentlemen, we have made several findings in the investigation report, which can be found on pages 37 to 42 of the report, and I'm inviting you to also study the report in your own time. Now, the findings include the following. 1. The Commission finds that the failures affecting water and sanitation services within Makana are structural and systemic in nature rather than isolated or temporary disruptions. They are structural and systemic. 2. The Commission finds that the instability in water supply within the Makana local municipality is not primarily attributable to the absence of bulk raw water resources within the regional system. Rather, it is the inability, I stress the inability, to maintain and operate existing infrastructure that has resulted in reduced water production, low reservoir levels, and inconsistent supply to affected communities, including high-lying areas within the Makana local municipality. 3. The Commission finds that wastewater treatment infrastructure within Makana municipality has deteriorated significantly, and that certain wastewater treatment facilities are either operating beyond design capacity or remain non-functional. The evidence obtained during the investigation confirmed that the Belmont Valley wastewater treatment works operates above design capacity, while the Mayfield wastewater treatment works remain non-operational due to infrastructure failure and vandalism. Now, these conditions have contributed to recurring sewage spillages, wastewater overflows, and environmental contamination affecting residential areas, public spaces, and surrounding communities. I don't have to elaborate. You are experiencing this every single day. Contamination affecting residential areas, public spaces, and surrounding communities. 5. The conditions further constitute prima facie non-compliance with Section 152 of the Constitution, which enjoins the promotion of a safe and healthy environment. If you are experiencing sewage spillages on a daily basis, how can you enjoy, as a community, a safe and healthy environment? And this requires reasonable measures to prevent pollution of water resources, and Section 28 of the National Environmental Management Act, which imposes a duty to prevent environmental degradation. 6. The evidence before the Commission demonstrates that residents within certain areas such as N Street, Upper Mnandi, Sun City, and Ronaskraal continue to rely on the bucket system more than 2 decades after the introduction of the national bucket eradication measures, which reflects a prolonged failure to provide adequate and dignified sanitation services to affected communities, thereby violating residents' rights to human dignity, environmental safety, health, and the rights of vulnerable groups, including children. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and I also said it yesterday when we met with another municipality in this province, municipalities, through the provision, through their constitutional mandate to provide services to communities, are the vehicles constitutionally to ensure equality for everyone. Also, to ensure dignity for everyone. That is the main purpose of local government. Provide services, and in the process you ensure equality and dignity. However, rather than living lives of dignity, we have seen in the country in general, but also and more specifically in this municipality, rather than living lives of dignity, communities and residents are living lives of indignity. And this specific finding that communities still have to rely on the bucket toilet system 30 years, more than 30 years into democracy, is really, really concerning. 7. The Commission finds that Makana local municipality has experienced persistent failures in financial management, governance oversight, and administrative control. 8. The Commission finds that prolonged instability within technical and engineering functions materially impaired Makana's ability to discharge its responsibilities as a water services authority. The evidence before the Commission demonstrates that vacancies and instability affecting senior technical positions contributed to operational deficiencies, delayed maintenance interventions, and weaknesses in infrastructure management and planning. 9. The Commission finds that, notwithstanding court-sanctioned intervention measures, the evidence obtained during the present investigation demonstrates continued governance instability, infrastructure deterioration, and recurring failures in water and sanitation service delivery within Makana. 10. The Commission finds that extensive support and intervention measures have been implemented within Makana over a prolonged period through cooperative governance and regulatory mechanisms. However, this is 11, the Commission finds that notwithstanding these interventions and support measures, instability in water and sanitation service delivery persisted within Makana over an extended period. The evidence before the Commission demonstrates that ordinary support, oversight, and cooperative governance measures have not resulted in sustained institutional reform or stable constitutional compliance within Makana. Let me repeat that the evidence has demonstrated that ordinary support, oversight, cooperative governance measures have not resulted in sustained institutional reform or stable constitutional compliance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the question then arises. If litigation is not assisting, because earlier I referred to the fact that there was court-sanctioned intervention in this municipality, if ordinary support from provincial government, from national government, and other cooperative governance measures have not resulted in sustained institutional reform, what else is remaining for the residents and the communities of Makana? And that is a question you must ask yourself. What else is remaining? Litigation is not assisting, support is not assisting, and many other forms of intervention have not been assisting the residents of Makana. 13. The Commission finds that the cumulative effect of prolonged water outages, recurring sewage spillages, and inadequate sanitation conditions has impaired several rights, including the right of access to sufficient water in terms of Section 27 of the Constitution, the right to human dignity in terms of Section 10 of the Constitution, the right to an environment that is not harmful to health or the well-being in terms of Section 24 of the Constitution, the rights of children protected in terms of Section 28 of the Constitution. 14. The Commission finds that the failures identified during the investigation reflect broader weaknesses in institutional accountability, consequence management, and governance oversight within Makana. 15. The Commission finds that Makana has been unable, over a prolonged period, to fulfill its executive obligations relating to the provision of water and sanitation services in a sustainable, effective, and constitutionally compliant manner, thereby violating Section 152 of the Constitution, which obliges municipalities to ensure the provision of services to communities in a sustainable manner. 16. And this is the final finding. The Commission finds that the continued deterioration and instability of water and sanitation services raise serious concerns regarding Makana's institutional capacity to restore and maintain sustainable constitutional compliance without further structural intervention. Now, the question I want to put to you as stakeholders, and this is not part of our report, this is just my own observation. Are we not witnessing the characteristics of an uncaring municipality? A municipality that simply does not care about its residents and its communities. Recommendations. We have made a few recommendations where and recommendations to specific organs of state. And these recommendations you'll find on pages 42 to 46 of the investigation report. The first recommendation affects the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. And that is in the province. 1. The Commission recommends to COCTA, under the authority of the Provincial Executive and in consultation with the Department of Water and Sanitation, to consider appropriate intervention measures in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution and Section 63 of the Water Services Act to ensure effective, sustainable, and accountable water and sanitation service delivery within Makana, including consideration of whether specific water services functions should be performed by another appropriately capacitated water services institution where necessary. 2. The Commission requests that COCTA considers the recommendation and provide a written report to the Commission within 60 days of receipt of the investigation report. Then a recommendation affecting the Eastern Cape Provincial Executive. The Commission recommends that the Eastern Cape Provincial Executive, acting within within its constitutional discretion, urgently assess whether the jurisdictional requirements for intervention in terms of Section 1391C of the Constitution are met, including whether dissolution of the Makana Municipal Council and appropriate consequential measures are necessary to restore effective governance and ensure the continued provision of essential services. The Commission also requests the Provincial Executive to consider the recommendation and provide a written report to the Commission within 90 days of receipt of the investigation report. Then to the Department of Water and Sanitation, the Commission recommends that the Department prioritize and urgently ensure completion of Phase 3 of the James Kleinans Water Treatment Works Upgrade Project. The Department must also, within 30 days of receipt of the investigation report, furnish the Commission with appointment letters of the service providers, the approved scope of work, the allocated or approved project budget, and implementation timelines. The Department, this is the Department of Water and Sanitation, should further provide quarterly progress reports to the Commission regarding the implementation of Phase 3, including any delays, operational challenges, or enforcement measures associated with the project. The Commission recommends that the Department continue exercising its regulatory and enforcement powers where there is evidence of continued or willful non-compliance with compliance notices, directives, or regulatory obligations applicable to Makana. The Department should provide a written report within 30 days of the date of receipt of the investigation report, indicating the compliance notices and directives issued to Makana, the current status of compliance within such notices and directives, and any enforcement measures taken or under consideration in response to non-compliance. Then to the Department of Employment and Labour, the Commission recommends that the Department of Employment and Labour continue monitoring and enforcing compliance with the direction notice prohibition issued in respect of the engineering and infrastructure building within Makana. A written compliance status report should be submitted to the Commission within 60 days, with follow-up inspections conducted within 90 days and further updates provided thereafter where necessary. Right, ladies and gentlemen, as the Commission we have done our part. We conducted two subpoena hearings where the executive mayor and the municipal manager were subpoenaed to appear before the Commission. And we also, as you've already heard, conducted an extensive investigation into water and sanitation in Makana. Organs of state, remember, we as the Commission, we don't fix sanitation. We don't provide water. We are calling on organs of state to now do their part and implement the recommendations we have made in this investigation report. I've identified these stakeholders and we are calling on them. Play your part in implementing these recommendations. The residents of Makana local municipality deserve better. We cannot allow a situation where people still live lives of indignity. The downward spiral in water and sanitation management, which has reached crisis proportions in Makana local municipality, cannot be left unchecked. No effort should be spared to address the water and sanitation crisis in Makana, and we urge the relevant authorities to act with vigor and urgency in turning around this crisis. We will be, ladies and gentlemen, our work is not going to stop here today. Firstly, we will continue to monitor the implementation of the recommendations, but tomorrow we will be presenting the report to a member of the Executive Council. We have also, as the Commission, built a cordial relationship with portfolio committees in the National Assembly, also with the relevant Select Committee and the National Council of Provinces, and I will request those chairpersons to also table the report in the relevant portfolio committees, also the Select Committee for Cooperative Governance in the National Council of Provinces, and then I will also have my regular engagements with the relevant ministers to also make these findings and recommendations known to the National Executive, the Provincial Executive, but also other oversight bodies like the National Assembly, the National Council of Provinces, the Provincial Legislature, and the intention is very clear. It is we represent the vulnerable. We represent the communities of Makana, and we cannot tolerate what we have observed in this municipality going forward. I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner and Dr. Carter, for the report. I just want to check whether there is an official from the legislature and Office of the Premier amongst us. Okay, welcome. Legislature. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, another thing that I want to mention is the fact that a draft report was circulated to the municipality, to Kokcha, Water and Sanitation, and Amadola for their comments. And the Commission since received comments from Water and Sanitation. You will see on page 16 of this final report that we have taken note of the submissions that you submitted to us. Yesterday we received comments from Kokcha. They are also not objecting to the report, but they have guaranteed to work with the Commission in realizing one of the recommendations that are mentioned in the report. Before I open for question and answers, I just want to say, as I earlier mentioned, that the business of today is to release the report. So questions should be directed to us as the Human Rights Commission in terms of the report. No questions should be directed to Makana. They are our visitor today. So if anyone has questions will be based on the report and should be directed to the commission. Okay, thanks for that. Anyone who wants to ask any question? I want to take 3 at a time. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Start the gentleman with the white.
Thank you very much, Human Rights Commission. My name is Lungile Mkube from the MCF, Makana Citizens Front, one of the official complainants on behalf of the citizens of Makana. We welcome the report. At least it's going to give a direction. But however, I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'm not disillusioned, that in your recommendations, there is no referral for a criminal prosecution. That's the only disappointment you have. I am raising this because in 2018, of the submission, 2.6 million was wasted to buy a water pump. A non-core business company, a company with no engineering expertise, was 0.6 million. Now, up until to date, that water pump is still in Benoni. The results of that, we are struggling as communities in terms of water. Yet 2.6 million was paid to a company. So I would have expected that at least the commission also touch on the criminal prosecution. Lastly, I'm also disappointed that Amatola Water Board is not here. And I want the commission to follow that up, because Amatola Water Board is part of a problem. They are part of the reason why we are in this great water disaster and crisis in Makana. I'm going to cite one example. In 2010, Amatola Water Board awarded a tender of 50 million to a company called Stenele and Bosch Africa for the upgrade of the Genesis James Kleinhans water treatment plant. We have not received any report what happened to the 50 million that was awarded to this company. 3 years later, in 2013, a new company was appointed called Bosch Holding. They were awarded 86.3 million for the same water treatment plant upgrade. We have discovered in our own investigation that these are family companies. Bosch Holding is a subsidiary company of Stenel and Bosch Africa. And we are convinced that there is an organized criminal syndicate that operates in the water and sanitation. That's why, as MCF, we have already formally laid criminal complaint with the police, but we are still waiting for the outcome, because Hawks told us investigation is complete, but they are waiting for senior prosecutor to take a decision. We want the commission to join this strategic litigation so that there is criminal prosecution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Philip Mechanic, also from MCF. We welcome the Commission's work, but we have some doubts about getting a sympathetic and helpful response from other layers of government, because we have been trying this for years. As early as start of 2022, we have started writing letters to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Water Sanitation. We've written to both the previous and the current minister. We've written to provincial government. Every letter has been ignored. We've also recently submitted a petition with 22,000 signatures to the President. This is a huge number. Only 19,000 people voted in this municipality last election. We have not even received acknowledgement of that petition. So we would strongly urge the Commission to be very forceful in its intervention in terms of approaching other levels of government. Don't expect goodwill unless there's extreme pressure. The other issue I would like to raise is that I believe this came up in the last subpoena hearings in City Hall, the question of the engineer Reynard Britnell, who's seconded here in 2024, who left as arising from death threats. We again wrote to province to demand action on this, no response. The mayor lied about this in council. She claimed that he had vanished and said nothing. This is not true. So to expect cooperation from arms of government that have known about these problems for a long time, and we as councillors have done our level best. We've tried everything. Letters, petitions, articles in national media, interviews on national TV, and of course bringing yourselves in. So we urge that the Commission is as forceful as possible in demanding these interventions. The problem, of course, with going for a court action to demand dissolution is we're running out of time because the council is in any case dissolved for the 4th of November elections. But take every forceful action. We urge you to do so, and don't expect goodwill or a desire to aid the poor or to end inequality to have any effect whatsoever. You know, it makes me angry to see our people living in shit, to put it brutally. And yet the people in the running the municipality really do not seem to care. The people at higher levels of government have shown no evidence of caring. These are my people. I want them to live lives of dignity. I hate inequality. I've been fighting it since way back during the apartheid era, and yet it still persists. So keep doing what you're doing, but don't expect it to happen easily. Keep pushing hard. Don't just take assurances that something will be done. Check on everything. And once again, thank you very much for your good work.
Thank you, Chair. I am Archbishop Nkosinathi Ngesi of the Ethiopian Episcopal Church. I'm also the Deputy Chairperson of the Makana United Civic Movement, which has just been formed recently. Chair, we welcome your presence, number one. I think it's a breath of fresh air. Remember that Reverend Chris Nissen was here on the 25th of February 2025, and we were expecting a lot in terms of feedback from the Commission. And unfortunately, we did not have feedback until now. I mean, our hope was dying, looking at the horizon as to when you are going to come back again and give us a report. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate from the bottom of our hearts. You give us new hope now. Yes, Makana is deteriorating. Everybody knows about that. I'm not going to dwell in your report because we have been engaging with them for about a decade now, the same things that you have risen here. And we did not get any response from anywhere. You talk about COCTA, we invited ministers and stuff like that, but they indicated to us that they cannot. And my wonder was that there is we have been speaking to them that this municipality is ineffective. Now, they must be removed. Cannot do that. Now, Chair, you have raised a question here about legal measures. I mean, the municipality was being taken to court. Nothing happened. You are fortunate that the people of Makana are so patient. Because if it was any other community, the Makana, this town would have been in fire long time ago. But now, my gripe with all these commissions, Section 9 institution. For instance, the AG was here. They have discovered that there are 7 consecutive disclaimers. Money that is supposed to go to residents in terms of affecting these communities is not non-accountable. What do you do? That's my question. I asked the AG about 6 months ago in Johannesburg, what are you doing about Makana? Because it's useless. It's like an assignment to report, bring the report to us, and then there is no consequence management. And these commissions, to me, are not biting. Even the Rights Commission, you give us reports, you are telling us stories, but you are not dealing with the responsible people. Because if there is no consequence management and responsibility, these people will remain here. And actually, they say you are not going to do post about that. And they are depressing our morale. For instance, SIU was here about a year ago. Nothing happens. And they are about to get out of the municipality in a few months' time. What's going to happen? What lessons are you teaching us? People that will get into government tomorrow will probably do the same thing. Because we haven't done anything. The report is nice to read, but you are not saying we are going to do this legally. That's what I have been expecting. So please, it's nice to read, but the ending is not very well until you say, I know that you are going to go to Parliament. It will take another month, that process. And by the time you come back, I'm not sure whether we'll be here by that time. We are drinking water with E. coli here. And you haven't mentioned that. I'm happy that you are saying there are children, there are old people, but all of us, we are a poor community, and we have to drink that water because we don't have any choice. Our people are sick. What can we do about that? Do we open a case against the Human Rights Commission because you're not doing your job effectively? I don't know why you are here in the first place. I am not very much convinced that out of this session, anything positive will come. The processes that you are going to go to NCPOs, Parliament, and stuff like that. When was Makana people called to Parliament and come and respond to them? Nothing happens. However, we are patient people. We will go with you, but at some point in time, we are going to get tired. We are going to get tired. Thank you for coming. But please, do work on these things. We want people to go. You haven't said anything about corruption. I'm happy that Mr. Mkobe has raised these issues. And these people, if we cannot stability, 7 disclaimers. 7 disclaimers. And was quiet. 7 disclaimers. The people's money is unaccounted for. Millions and millions of rands unaccounted for. And nobody is taking responsibility for goodness sake. Why is shipping well?
Good day, everyone. I am Dashstone.
I can confirm that you are one of the complainants in this matter. And indeed, the issue you are raising of, I call it the lost and found pump, it was part of one of the issues that we also raised with the municipality when we subpoenaed them in 2024 and again in 2025. But if you look at page 24 of the report, it make mention of the interventions by the Special Investigating Unit. Then after that proclamation, the proclamation 207, when was issued, then we decided to leave that to SIU for their investigation. The question on Mr. Brightnell, I can confirm to you that I personally had engagements with him, Mr. Brightnell, but I don't want to mention anything further than that when it comes to him. Then to you, Mr. Fundiswam Ungesi, I hear what you are raising, but I want to say to you, the recent Constitutional Court, it said that our findings are not binding. But let me tell you, Section 184 of the Constitution, it states that the Commission must take appropriate steps in order to get redress. So investigation is one of the steps. The subpoenas that we have, Makana, is one of the steps. This report that we are releasing now, we cannot just go to court and say the court must implement our report because they will tell us that our findings are not binding. So what we have to do as the Human Rights Commission is to take step. So this is one of the steps that we are taking as the Commission. Commissioner has already mentioned the other steps that his office will facilitate in this case in order to implement this report. Let me now hand over to the panel.
Thank you so much, Advocate Mpondo. I think Advocate Mpondo has covered most of of the questions asked. Mine is also just to confirm that the comments are taken on board. The report does illustrate the steps that the Commission has taken throughout. Those were interviews, as Advocate Mpondo has already indicated, which we may not have highlighted now in the findings, but we do encourage you to go through the report, engage with the report, and we are happy also to hear your comments. In terms of criminal prosecution, Advocate Mpondo has already indicated that we are very much aware of the SIU's involvement, and we are very cognizant of the Commission's mandate in itself as well. So read the report in conjunction with the SIU processes that are ongoing. Mine would also just then, before I hand over to Commissioner Boshoff, to say that the Concord decision is also very encouraging, in fact. The Concord decision in terms of the Human Rights Commission's mandate only speaks to directives, but it reinforces the Human Rights Commission's mandate in the steps that Advocate Mpondo has indicated towards redress that we can uniquely take. Commissioner Boshoff has already outlined the way forward on what we are going to do. This is not a piece of paper you print and you put in a box next to the printer. This is a living document. This is a document that will be taken forward not only by the province but at our national level as well. And I'm encouraged by your final comments, that you're going to walk this journey perhaps with us. And that is what we ask. We are continuing to monitoring. We are continuing to use our advocacy and to further this, what we call the constitutional dialogue. We are uniquely placed to do that. A very unique organization. And the Constitutional Court has, as well as the Supreme Court of Appeal, has been unequivocal to state expressly these recommendations of the Commission cannot be ignored. And that not only one tends to focus on the directive portion of that judgment, but the express judgment says we can't be ignored. And the steps towards redress, as Advocate Mpondo, and as we've done several times in this province, and you are welcome to engage with our office to learn more about that. This is a step. It's not our final step. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Carter and Advocate Mpondo. Firstly, I value the fact that you've expressed your frustrations this morning. Even the criticism towards the Human Rights Commission is welcomed. We are not perfect. We can also improve, but I want to give you hope. Local government, ladies and gentlemen, is in serious trouble in South Africa. Serious trouble. You know, Peace-More, the gentleman standing over there, and I, over the last 2 years, have had discussions with all 144 water services authorities in the country, all of them. We have met with the majority of municipalities in the country. We've conducted inquiries, formal inquiries, where we invited testimonies of municipalities and other stakeholders in the Free State Province, the Northern Cape, an investigative inquiry into service delivery in Northwest Province, and about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we also conducted a highly publicized inquiry into water in the Gauteng Province. Now, the success of the report lies in the monitoring of the implementation of the recommendations. And in the Eastern Cape, we have a very, very effective provincial office, and I can assure you that they will monitor the implementation. But they also need support internally. Now, what we've changed in the Human Rights Commission over the last 2.5 years is, and I earlier indicated that we've played our part. We've issued reports, we've conducted inquiries, and we've made recommendations to organs of state and other stakeholders for implementation. But for many years, and you are 100% correct, for many years, many of the remedial actions issued by Chapter 9 institutions, recommendations issued by Chapter 9 institutions have simply been ignored. I mean, court orders are not even being implemented by municipalities. I can refer you to many in the country where there's litigation, but municipalities simply ignore. There's a simple disregard for authority in this country. The courts are being disrespected. Chapter 9 institutions are being disrespected. And you are correct, they simply say, we're not going to implement this. They're not going to do anything to us. That is the attitude. That is the reality. And I'm grateful that you raised it. It's important that you raise it. Now, what we've changed over the last few years is we have also roped in committees of parliament, both in the National Assembly and also in the National Council of Provinces. Again, we have regular engagements with MECs, your provincial executives, and the provincial legislatures, and so on. But what happened now recently is the Select Committee in the National Council of Provinces conducted their own oversight visits to the municipalities that we had identified as problematic in other provinces. I'll refer to the Free State quickly. we were invited to present our findings and recommendations at a session that was chaired by the chairperson of the select committee. We presented our findings, our recommendations, in the presence of the municipality, in the presence of community members. And when we visited 3 or 4 municipalities with the select committee, they returned to Parliament. The committee then made recommendations to the full House of the National Council of Provinces that the recommendations of the Human Rights Commission should be implemented. So our recommendations in the Free State province became a resolution of Parliament. It's no longer a recommendation of the Human Rights Commission. In the Free State now, there's suddenly a move to remove and replace mayors. They've done it in, I think, 8 or 9 municipalities already. And there's also a move to implement consequence management as far as administration is concerned. Now, I also accompanied them to Ditsobotla in the Northwest Province, to Mfuleni in Gauteng Province, and I can assure you that the recommendations of the Human Rights Commission emanating from our investigative inquiries and also our the other inquiries and investigations that we conducted will probably become a resolution of Parliament as well. And honestly, if you have the guts as a municipality to simply disregard a resolution of Parliament, you're surely looking for trouble. Surely looking for trouble. So that is the approach. We are not only using the tools and the means available to the Human Rights Commission to ensure the implementation, but we have to get the buy-in from the executive at national and provincial level, especially at provincial level in this province, because here we are recommending the dissolution of the council. We need the buy-in of the provincial executive. We need the buy-in of the national executive, of Parliament. And that will be the approach going forward. My office will not tolerate a situation where investigative reports and inquiry reports of the Commission simply gather dust. What is the purpose then of conducting an inquiry? And I will not be able to face you and many millions of people who rely on the Commission to secure redress for the marginalized, the vulnerable communities of South Africa. We are comfortable that our approach is yielding results, and hopefully with regards to Makana, this report, I gave the provincial manager the assurance on our way here this morning that the report, I will definitely liaise with the Honourable Kahunda, the chairperson of the Select Committee, that we also be given the opportunity to present this report, and we will also request the Select Committee to visit this municipality. And I've been part of those engagements. They also invite communities where you will also be given the opportunity to say your say. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. The second round, can I see your hand? 1, 2, okay, and 3 there. Oh, sorry. Okay, now I'll add you, the fourth one. Okay, okay. Fifth, yeah. Where is the moving mic? Okay, yes, you can continue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nadesh Town. I am part of the Crime Sound Deserves Better. We are all sitting here. There's 2 things that stood out for me. The one thing that you mentioned is that our municipality does not care. If you look onto that table, they're not even caring about what's going on here. They're sitting on their phones, not even listening, not even. Yeah. Another thing that you have to take certain steps. Certain steps. Does it take 30 years to get that steps? Because you've mentioned that Sun City has been using the bucket system for 30 years. So the steps that you have been taking is going to take another 30 years to get an answer. For people who don't care, they have to be held accountable. I will not care because I know whatever I do, no one is going to come to me and no one is going to. Fact are sitting there on their phones just shows how do they not care this government, this Makana. And I really, I'm going to emphasize on this, as long as people are, they, yeah, in after the 4th of November, there's a new mayor, this one. What happens to her actions? What happens to the failures in her 5 years? Is it on? So now, if she's not going to be held accountable, the next mayor is going to do the same thing. And you can just do whatever you want, and there's no punishment. What are you teaching the child? I asked the speaker the other day, what are we raising? Because whatever we are raising are going to fill the commission. This is what the municipality. Yeah. People die with the system. I heard what Dr. Carter said. For us, it means that this report is just going to sit next to your computer. Because for 30 years, there was reports done, there were papers issued to us. What happened to that? I'm just talking about 30 years now. What is happening to that? You're going to take a report, you're going to take all of this into account. What are you going to do? You're going to put it here because when we go home and we give this good news that the commissioner came to Makana, they're going to ask what is going to happen after this meeting. What are we going to tell them? What are we going to tell them? So in order for us to go to our people and say that this actions need to be taken against our municipality, because they need to know that I heard about big amounts of money, millions and millions of rands. You know who is accountable for this. Everyone knows. There's no need for you to go and search for those people who is failing us. They are here sitting in front of us, but yet they can sit with the attitude, I don't care. They're sitting with it in front of us, sitting with the same attitude, I don't care. They're going to leave this room with the same as they came in with the I don't care attitude. They're going to leave with the same attitude because they don't care. Sorry.
The next one. No, the third one. No, there, yeah. Can we please don't point fingers at anyone, please? I
Thank you
know
so
the
much.
seriousness of this matter.
Thank you so much, sir. I do concur with the report, that has been given by you guys, and it's a very good and forward report. Our biggest problem is that has been mentioned here. You take the findings, as you are saying, Doc, that at least you know on here. Those are the same people that are the stumbling block, for this municipality to progress. They are the same people. And we don't actually, we are not just at least lambasting them for no reason. They are facts. These actually facts that Arch has said, mentioned of 7 disclaimers, are speaking for themselves. At one stage, it was said the Attorney General is going to take a bite. It's not going to just issue a report anymore. It's going to bite. It's going to go to SIU, and those people who are doing funny things, embezzling funds of the municipalities, are going to be taken. We have not had one. But the point is, with an institution such as this one, Rhodes University, Kingswood College, St. Andrews College, all the other colleges, PJ Oliver and so on, those are the biggest contributors of revenue into this municipality. Let alone at least the residents from town as well, the residents from town. Those are the people who are current in terms of paying their rates. Very little is coming from our township. I mean, we must admit that. Very little is coming from our township. But the point is, you are belittling all these institutions that are here, paying rates. At one stage, for your information, the Vice-Chancellor marched. No one in this whole country has ever marched a Vice-Chancellor with his students to go to municipality, to go and complain about the water. The whole, that should be alarming bells at least that are ringing once the Vice-Chancellor with his students go to municipality. And these things are happening. The pattern which is actually being implemented, we are talking about, you are talking about, the portfolio committee, at least from Parliament and so on. The symbol is of quota. He failed here. He is holding in Parliament to just see the very same municipality as well. At least he was an MEC. Been shifted from his position at least. Now he's a Minister of Transport and so on. Now we've got this thing. Yes, it can tell you that at least all these 3 that I'm mentioning, each one has been staying his 5 years with no management. I'm saying at least we are playing around. We are playing around. At least I'm playing around. We are playing around. Institution that has a lot of people. Our townships. Whatever you are saying, we must. I mean, at least somebody was mad at this municipality blowing. You was blowing. No finding has been made at least about at least is actually the killing of this man. So we are actually like used to growing up. You can drive around your there are some other also, areas that has not been mentioned in your report regarding at least visitation. Vergenoeg is not mentioned in your report. And there are Pamani. You can. So those are the areas. My name is I'm from Makana United Civic Movement.
Okay, thanks a lot. Dad.
Born and bred here.
Sorry Mhlekazi. Utata lona kuqala.
Dim, bendiphakamisile.
Ewe, yesa kuwe.
You said 4, remember so. And then we.
Ufo nangu.
Iphakamisile.
Eh. Then u3 nangu.
No.
Ewe mhlekazi. Iza. Uzayifumana chance yakho. Nangu tata lona. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Peter King. I'm just a resident of Makana, but I'm also a member of the Makana Citizens Front. And it's encouraging to meet such a diversity of people here. I, of course, live in one of the privileged areas of the city. And so when the water is off, which is more than 50% of the time, I can still have a shower. And I do feel for those who don't have a water tank that is plumbed into their house, because sometimes the water is off for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days at a time. I appreciate the efforts of the Commission and the thoroughness with which you've applied your minds and investigated the issues, and I think you've produced, as best I heard the summary, you've produced a very, very good report. But like our Constitution, one hopes that it doesn't remain theoretically beautiful, but practically useless. One of the things that our Constitution has provided us with is the opportunity to elect government every 5 years. We go through a process of electing our national and provincial, and we go through a process of electing our local governments. I do question whether or not the recommendation or the suggestion to our provincial executive to consider dissolution is a practical one, considering the fact that we only have 3 or 4 months left. But what is practical is that the people in this room, one has a strong sense that 95% of them, of the 70 or so people gathered here, would really, really like the status quo to change after November the 4th. And possibly 5%, those that have a vested interest in the status quo continuing, would like the status quo to continue. But they are in a very small minority, and I would like to think that after November the 4th, the majority of people who are represented by a sample in this room, but who are represented more broadly in the city, who know very well that we cannot continue with business as usual, that they exercise their best choice and that we're able to sit down after November the 4th and say, let us build a new Makana. A Makana works for everybody, not just the privileged and not just one group of people, but who serves with, in good faith and with honesty and integrity, all of the citizens of Makana municipality. And that's what we all hope for. And so thank you for, I think, playing a small part. You've acted in obvious good faith, without partisan interests. You've done exactly what our Constitution and your documents require you to do, and I appreciate that very much. It remains for the citizens to hold people to account, and the most practical mechanism of accountability is coming on November the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Otto Njebe. I'm a business person in Makana. Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Boshoff, for giving us at least a hope. You know, with your last sentences stating that you are going to do something. And but I wonder, I've got a question to say that, is this something that you're going to do is going to pinpoint at individual? Because all these messes that are happening are done by individuals. Because there's no point to say that you are going to subpoena the municipality whereas individual keep on doing this kind of, irregular, something like that, And my second point, because we as the business people of this community, some of us are dying, you see. It's happening intentionally that no businesses from the local people are going to get. It has been stated clearly. And one of those people that point out to say that get any job here, other business people. I'm saying that there are millions that are going out of this town. Tenders and other businesses are just relocating from Makana, because of the revenue and so on. I don't know that side, because there are a lot of monies, you talk of millions that have already gone. No one is accountable for that. But what we see here, we see certain individuals, particularly the politicians, they are getting something. The big houses, others, they are driving beautiful cars, brand new cars, with our tax monies. So we don't know, because I would be happy if out of what you have said, perhaps when you're presenting something in the parliament, to say that there are these names, because there are names that are behind all these shenanigans that are happening here. Because not everyone. There are certain people that we have been mentioning. I don't know, would you then deal with those people as the recommendation to be pinpointed? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tata. Last one?
No.
No, it was not you, but
I don't know whether stigmic ableism that is happening here now. I have been raising my hand for the past 15 minutes. I am going back to the point of systemic ableism. I do not know whether it was intentional that people living with disabilities were omitted in all these reports. I always stand for those people, because I am one. And we have had to, self-cater or self-provide water, etc. Imagine being a person living with a disability. You are ill, you are at the hospital, and there is no water, or the water is infested. And then now you have people who have the arrogance of asking you questions. I don't know, it kind of disheartens. But then again, I am coming back now to the point of the separation of power. Can't we have a system? I'm just asking now, you as commissioners, can't we have a system where power is being separated? The political power stands on its own, and jurisprudence stands on its own. Because this interference, this political, it is the elephant in the house. The head of the judiciary is appointed. I don't know how, but I think it's political. And then I don't think it's a case of a dog biting the hand that feeds, but it's a case like that. But I'm saying, can't we have a system now where the judiciary stands independently? We do not have the transformative nature of jurisprudence, but we have a standing jurisprudence without political intervention. Can't we have a policy that says leaders must apply, and not by show of hand that I vote for this person to be a mayor, because that person might have been a security guard in his previous life. Now he becomes a mayor. Now he's not even, hey, I don't. Again, can we have another system? Can we change the system of people coming by show of hands? I vote for this kind of offering because through a stone at a hip point. Because this thing is not for us now. We are at another age now. We are at a digital age. And we need people now who can lead us with a political will. Of, thank you. I'm due to. Thank you.
Okay, we'll try to respond to the questions that have been raised. I want to start with you, Sis Nadesh. You are asking whether you're still going to wait for 30 years. If you look at our recommendations, there are time frames that are stipulated there, like 90 days, for example, 60 days. So that's at least the time frame that we are giving the departments to comply with our findings. So I can assure you, you're not going to wait for 30 years again. Yes, yeah. If I can go first to Tatu Sipo Albani. I invite you, Tatu Sipo Albani, to read the report. You will note from page 19 that we consulted with roads and they have made submissions. It's there in the report. Even the areas that we visited and the areas that we received complaints, we have listed in the report. It may happen that we didn't receive a response from Vergenoeg, but we have listed the areas that we visited in the report. Another question. I don't think it was really a question from Mr. Peter King, rather than a comment. Yes, Otonjebe. No, the report is not pointing on individuals rather than be on Makana. I also invite you to read the report. You will see that it talks about institutions, not individuals. So I invite you to read the report. This question about separation of power, I will leave it to Commissioner to respond.
Thank you so much, Louis. So, again, Commissioner, I think what we are seeing here today is a community that is exhausted. And the Commission is expressing through this report that we see that. I don't want to belabor what has already been said here this morning, but I want to invite the communities also to engage with us further. We also do advocacy work in the communities where we tell you what mechanisms and even what other institutions may be available to assist you further. Sometimes we have to also see where the Commission stops and perhaps another institution starts. Whether that be the public protector or another, we even have government departments coming on board where we see that we need enforcement and we need assistance with the realization of these rights. And moving forward, we also invite you to engage with our office so that we can provide communities also with support where they need it moving forward. It can be even aside from this report. But what I'm seeing here today is an exhausted community. A community that I have to, though, make comment on that perhaps now has a constitutional body having affirmed that what you've experienced is in fact true. And in terms of vulnerable groups, Mr. Durusake, I want to assure you that, and I want to also refer to this paragraph, we say that the evidence obtained during this investigation demonstrates that vulnerable groups, including persons living with disabilities and residents of informal settlements, have been disproportionately affected. We recognize that, sir, and certainly not only in this municipality. It is endemic in this country. And we want to assure you that we also have a dedicated commissioner focusing on people with disabilities. So we are consistently trying to affirm and reaffirm your right to be treated equally in this country. Again, Commissioner, I think a lot that has been said is also a need for the community to express their frustrations. The answers might not always be expressly articulated in this report, but what we and what Advocate Mpondo has already pointed out is we've got a clear way forward for ourselves. A lot of it's going to come down to monitoring. Just to give you an indication, in your town specifically, 2 of our reports have already been used as the most recent one was the Kloha Mouth report. The community, there's a 6-month timeline. By September, the department agreed that Kloha Mouth will be having EMS vehicles. They didn't even oppose us in court, but they used the report from the commission, and we've visited the community, I think 2 weeks ago, where we engaged with them on the way forward. So we might not have all the answers today, but what we can assure you is reflect on our report and see what we endeavor as the next step. And Commissioner, I think that's enough from my side, and handing over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. There is obviously a possibility that the recommendation to dissolve the municipal council of Makana, that it will not be implemented before elections. There is that possibility. And we're not going to sit here and try to convince the audience that that is definitely going to happen. The reason being the time period is so short that I don't want to say that I'm doubtful that it will be implemented, but there's a possibility. Now, what else was the commission supposed to do? This municipality has been ignoring court processes, court facilitated processes. So, interventions by Chapter 9 institutions, other bodies. And the only available avenue that we have identified as commission, and we, during the subpoena hearing, the second one that we conducted, we already made the determination that the only way to address the challenges of this municipality initially was for the council to be dissolved. What else were we supposed to do? Because in our view, this municipality and its municipal council is not serving the needs of its community. And there's a lot of other things happening, wrong things happening in the municipality. If you read the report, we've not been ignoring the fact that there's financial mismanagement in this municipality. It's definitely occurring. We have also recommended consequence management. We have touched on almost everything that we can touch on in identifying the challenges facing this municipality. So, although I'm not that positive that the recommendation to dissolve the municipal council will be implemented before elections, we maintain that that was the correct recommendation, because it's important for government, for civil society, for ordinary residents to to observe for themselves that the Commission is serious about making government, making communities, making civil society aware of the challenges in this municipality. And it is so serious, that we have recommended the dissolution of this council. Now, we have also, or we have the mandate in terms of the constitution to also influence policy, government policy, to make specific inputs with regards to legislation, to recommend certain legislative amendments and so on. And we've been doing that. We have made inputs with regards to the white paper that is currently being considered. We also made representations at a meeting of the Portfolio Committee into the white paper. We have also made other recommendations to the Portfolio Committee in addressing the challenges facing local government. For example, we have, as the Human Rights Commission, recommended to the Portfolio Committee that there should be specific qualifications, educational qualifications identified for municipal councillors. Because we have observed, not necessarily in this municipality, but in many provinces, in your rural provinces, where you have councillors with primary school qualifications being mayors of councils. That is the reality. And the danger in having underqualified mayors and councillors is that your municipal managers start running the municipality. And we've also identified municipal managers who are only there for self-interest, only serving themselves, and then from time to time assisting a councillor here and there financially. That is the reality. Unfortunately, the dysfunctionality of local government in South Africa is not only about the lack of service delivery, but it's predominantly about corruption, financial mismanagement, and we have seen it everywhere. When we started, Mr. Mkhodi and I started meeting with municipalities and water services authorities, we always started the engagement asking them, what are the challenges facing your municipality? And the first response, every time, including this municipality, was, we have insufficient funds to provide services. We cannot provide services because we do not have the funds. So we initially said, oh, that is obviously a serious concern, because all the municipalities have been telling us that they don't have funds to provide services. So in 2024, we recommended to Minister Tlhabisa that the funding model for local government should be changed. When we had the follow-up meeting with him, he said to us, Cabinet has just approved that the funding model for local government should be changed, and the President in his recent State of the Nation address has also referred to that. So government is actively considering the revision of the funding model. But during 2025, we continued, having these discussions with local government, having inquiries, investigations, etc. And we came to the realization that there's a reason for municipalities not having sufficient funds to provide services. And we've been very vocal over the last 18 months or so saying that there's significant financial wastage taking place in local government. Corruption, financial mismanagement. I don't know what the prevalence of the water tankering system is in this municipality. I think we did ask the question when we conducted this, the subpoena hearing. But in many municipalities, this is the reality in South Africa, in many municipalities, municipal infrastructure is being deliberately sabotaged, not vandalized, sabotaged by municipal employees, by service providers to benefit service providers, municipal employees and municipal councillors. And I'm not accepting that explanation from municipalities anymore, where they say we do not have sufficient financial resources to provide municipal services because they are wasting scarce financial resources on themselves. That is the reality. I'm not trying to buy your face here. I've been in the media over the last 18 months saying the same thing. It is very concerning. It's very concerning that we are experiencing this level of corruption and financial mismanagement in local government, and the conduct is not addressing the needs of the communities.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I'm gonna take only 2 hands, and then we're gonna close this session after that. Yo, so many hands. Yeah, let me note you. No, only two. Yeah, they are both in you. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 1 man. Yeah, at least. Yeah, I will take you, ma'am, at the back. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Good.
Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. Thank you very much that we do want to recognize. I really appreciate that. There's a scripture in the Bible. It's a servant or a slave is waiting for the crumbs that would be fallen out of the master's table. In order for that slave or that servant to get something to eat, it has to be fallen from the master's table. Unfortunately, where there are no crumbs falling out of the master's table, that servant won't have any food. Unfortunately, that's how I'm going to explain or to describe the situation. Because there are no crumbs that are falling out for the servant to be able to eat. That is the situation that we're falling in. But some other things with regarding to forever, I believe that everybody has just mentioned. But quickly, one thing which is quite a very serious concern for me is you commissioners, like Human Rights Commission, to simply say that this matter has been lodged to you by 2023. It's 3 years now. You see, it took only for 3 years for you guys to publish only the report, but it's still going to take another month for the implementation of the report, as Archie has mentioned. So the question is, how are we going to have another trust to you? So which means is the system that the Human Rights Commission is using all these other municipalities in order for them to get a report. So what are we going to do that? At least last year we had a hope, as Arch mentioned, which was the National of the Human Rights Commission, who he was, and came the very same promise which you guys are presenting, was gone. Not necessarily that there were no other follow-ups in terms of the phone call personal phone call for PE, but no results. The question is, how are you going to do that? Yes, this is a nice speech, as you are mentioning, as everybody can hear. Remember then, you guys have got some personal assistants who knows how to write. You know, something that can give an impact. But the situation is really indeed deteriorating. But to you, Dr. Commissioner Boshoff, giving us hope by indeed, like especially matter now is binding. Because what is the use for these people to come and sit here, but there's nothing that is happening? I'm just going to give you some 2 points before I sit down. 2017, this man has been here for ages. 2017, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, while he was doing the campaign for him to become a president, he came to Indoor Sports Center, where he came to us and saying that, guys, please put me into power. But one thing I know for sure is I will make sure, I know that I heard for years that the infrastructure for Makana is deteriorating. But the moment I become into power, the first thing that I will do is to make sure that that infrastructure problem is going to be fixed up until now. You know, we can put a blame because what are you going to do when infrastructure bad and so forth, you know? But also another thing, it's really so sad. I wish really, hence said it's very nice to come up to these halls which has got air conditioning and everything, but people who are really sincerely, severely being affected, the situation is really bad, where you will find out that your urine is a substance. Your urine, you're going to use it for bucket system in order for it to flush. Why? Because there are no water. That's the situation which we are finding. People and complain about those particular things. And also at the same time, shame on you, even media personnels, media societies, because there were situations where in settlers hospitals, where the patients had to go outside to go and collect water because there were no water. I went to SABC in particular because I know some journalists with SABC, and I even called them to come and to oversee the situation that we're facing. I was referred to different 3 journalists up until the ENCA came and take the call, because why? This is a national matter. There is no way that you are in hospital, you've got a problem with your sicknesses, but also you have to have a problem about water. Where are you going to get water? So really, this is quite a very, very severe situation. Commissioner, I really you just mentioned, but there's no alternative here. It's like you go and get water with the bucket system and you speak about the justice system. Because the moment you can put all the 7 disclaimers about the municipality being the administration, they vary. Provincials of the very government together with the national. What does appeal mean? Appeal means whatsoever that has been recommended by the High Court is a lie. The situation in Makana is true. So what do you want to the community, to the people of Makana? The business people are moving out of Makana. The schools and everybody deteriorating. And they are busy now trying to take the High Court where to Bishop. Because why? It's a man-made. It's not just only about the politics like the municipalities doing money. It's not about them. We've seen from the Madanga Commission. I wish this commission can be Madanga Commissions. Madanga Commission does not even have a year. But results are there. People are being arrested. Really indeed. That's where the trust which we want. And no, don't worry. 4th of November is coming. And 4th of November is going to come with a change. Because people are heartful in Makanda. Really. Sincerely. So therefore, I don't care. Myself and I, straight talk breaks no friendship. I will never, this is black, while I can see it is white, because I'm afraid.
Fiona Semple. And I can't say I disagree with anything that people have said, including the Commission. Just to ask questions, and most of them have not been. You, the Human Rights Commission, but I believe with human rights come responsibility. And I feel that we, the community, need to do the right thing first. We can't point fingers at anything or anyone else if we're not doing the right thing. That goes from where you put down your toilet, cigarette butts, plasters, nappies, and more. And I know this because I volunteer in areas with overflowing sewage. And we try and clean the streams around there and put up with the smell at the same time. And so I've seen what's bubbling out of those manholes. They're by being. We mustn't point fingers unless we are doing our best to do the right thing, to look after our sewage system and not put down and not throw poisonous stuff down the stormwater drains, not allow stuff to block stormwater drains because it's out of our yard, so it can run down cement, sand, paper, plastic. All.
Thank you, Advocate. My name is JP Pretorius, and I'm a member of the Provincial Legislature COCTA Committee, Portfolio Committee. The chair was invited, but she could not make it, so she sent me to represent the committee, Dr. Eileen. Chair, for me, I would have liked Dr. Boshoff to start with the Provincial Legislature because it seems the interaction is more national, and we are here as the province, so I would appreciate if you can start with us as well. This municipality has appeared before COCTA. They are due to appear again in the next couple of weeks. They are one of the flagged committees, and they also appeared before we had a joint session with the National COCTA Committee and the Provincial Committee, where they appeared amongst 39 other flagged municipalities that appeared before these two joint committees, provincially and nationally. We are aware of the challenges. Like I said, they have appeared before us, and they are due to appear again. We have already agreed that the report will be discussed in the Portfolio Committee, and we'll make it our best effort to ensure that the recommendations are followed. So my one question on the report, Chair, is that the municipality has also been placed under Section 1541 in September 2024. And I don't see your report reflecting on Section 154 in terms of what did you find, did it work or did it not work. I do see on, I think, page 29 that you mentioned that it's part of the legislative framework, but I don't see you specifically highlighting whether this provision has worked or not. So before we get to Section 139, I would wanted to see what did you find on 154, whether it worked or not. In terms of our oversight function and our internal discussions, we would like to have seen you reflect on that part as well. But like I said, we do agree with your report, and we'll take it further and ensure that it becomes something that the legislature will own eventually. But thank you very much for the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Mpondo, and let me pass my greetings to Commissioner Boshoff, as well as Dr. Carter. I'm Pumelelo Saziwa, the chairperson of the Office of the Premier. Part of our work is to oversee the work of that office in coordinating government departments, inclusive of this one of COCTA. Further than that, I'm also chairing the cluster of the governance and administration cluster in the legislature. The reason I'm making this is because I've seen that part of the report talks to the need by EXCO of the province to play its role on the report. Therefore, that's the area that I'm interested in. Secondly, the Makana Citizen Forum has indicated that as far back as 2022, it did write to the provincial government, and there was no acknowledgement, no response from the provincial government. That's my area of oversight as well. For that, I would request that I'll be given a copy of that letter, so that I ask the Premier to respond as to why his relevant demand did not respond. Am I protected, Chair? Thank you so much. I'm a teacher by profession. And I was the principal for 13 years of high school. So part of our work is to instill discipline. So I'm saying then, for us, we are not taking this thing lightly. In fact, I am ashamed that when we found a legislation that gave rise to this commission, we failed to make sure that work of this commission must be binding. That's why that court decision said they are not legal binding. I think we are going to move as lawmakers to ensure that your recommendations become directives, so that whoever disagrees must take that to judicial review than to say, I want to implement. But from now, because a part of that, enforcement says, after the 90 days, the 60 days, that relevant authority does not respond, we have a right to take that matter to court. So you have that right. But we're giving this chance. And I also want to request the citizen here to give hope and trust this commission. I've worked with them. From now, heads are going to roll. Because as the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, we have entered into a memorandum of understanding with all the institutions supporting democracy. You remember you signed that on our behalf. So it's not going to be the matter of the commission only, but even the provincial government through the legislature is going to work very hard ensuring that this works. Because we don't want to reward people who are not doing their work. Because we must ask a question, a person, are you an asset or a liability? So, remember our employment is not guaranteed at any time. That's why we work as if it's our last day being employed. We don't beat about bushes. So, trust this one. We are together. I want to believe that going forward, we will manage. The 4th of November is too far. Maybe before that, there might be some change that we're going to see in terms of this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. There was one question, basically. The other one from Ma'am out there was just a comment from Fundo. I'm sure the information from the legislature answered one of the things that you have raised, whether it's just a puff of a smoke. That's what you said. But when it comes to what we have done since 2023, you will see is here in the report. All the steps that we have taken. Unfortunately, you were not one of our complainants in terms of updating you with regard to the steps that we have been taking in this case. If you can ask next to you, then you will get the information that we have been updating them in terms of the steps that we have taken in investigating this matter. Honorable Pretoria, as I can assure you, we have looked at section 139. We went as far as looking at the case which was brought against Makana in 2020. Yes, it's also covered, you will see in the report. We also look in terms of the appeal that the legislature submitted to the Supreme Court of Appeal. And we of the view that everything that was provided to Makana as a form of support, it has never worked. Thank you so much. I don't sure whether PM you want to add.
I think I'm just going to perhaps just wrap up the answer session from our side. Also, just to perhaps refer to the express mention of 154. It is mentioned in the report, but we reflect holistically on all the levers of support that was provided, and we collectively make a determination that we need to move towards 139 because 154 has not yielded any results. An express finding in terms of 154, not necessarily, but the Human Rights Commission finds in terms of the human rights violations, which is continuing. So we always have a look at what is on the plate before us. And the plate before us says persistent human rights violations. So 154 has not yielded the results that we wanted in terms of support. And also, Honourable, that yes, absolutely, we are going to start with the provincial legislature. We've got a very good relationship. We agree with the Speaker's office as well, and we will continue to strengthen that relationship. As recently as 2 weeks ago, we were at the legislature as well. So we are thankful for the support and the joint oversight support that we do receive in terms of the strengthening of our own mandate as well. Commissioner, I think I'm going to hand over to you because of the time, for closing of the proceedings and perhaps an overview comment from your side, also to the honourable members on the left on our way forward. And I think just from my side, because I'm not allowed to speak when you've spoken, just thank you to the communities who've been with us on this journey for quite some time. Your patience where there should not have been patience, your indulgence, coming to the table. I thank the stakeholders who've also been patient with us, the government stakeholders, and I do think that no one in this room wants to be subjected to perpetual human rights violations. Not on the side of government, not on the side of oversight, and certainly not on the side of communities. So I'm encouraged. I am a perpetual optimist, and you will see us, you will hear from us, and I'm eternally grateful for everyone's support and faith in that we sometimes can't do everything right at the same time, but surely you will see us trying. And from that and from the team in the province, I represent the team in the province, we are your commission. And our doors remain open. And we just thank you for the patience and allowing us also to present the report to you today. Commissioner, that's it from my officer's side. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, and thank you to Advocate Mpondo for leading the proceedings extremely well. I think on behalf of the Commission, I must thank the community of Makana for attending this engagement today, and also expressing your frustrations, identifying your needs. But I think what came out clearly today is that the community of Makana is not satisfied, not content with the services that you are receiving. In fact, you are not receiving adequate services in this municipality. That is the reality, and that is also what we tried to point out. Now, indeed, over the last 2 years or so, I was here, I think in 2024, with the first subpoena hearing. We conducted a follow-up subpoena hearing last year, and this report is based on the interaction that we had, the testimonies that we received during the inquiries. that we conducted with the municipality, and the mayor and the municipal manager were all obviously subpoenaed to appear before us. Now, it is important, although monitoring visits were conducted to this municipality, and although the chairperson of the commission also came to also observe for himself what was actually going on, it remains important that you formalize processes. It remains important that you have a tangible document, a document that will be available to everyone. It's available on our website. It will be tabled in the legislature, the parliament, etc. And it is a document that people can refer to. This is what was done. The document is available. The municipality has not implemented this, that, and that recommendation. So it is important to formalize processes. Initial processes didn't work. Conducted 2 subpoena hearings. The chairperson was here. The provincial manager visited the municipality. It is now important to move on to the next step. A step where we will see results, visible results. I omitted, Honourable Member, to indicate that that is actually our approach. We normally, after we've met with the relevant MEC to also present the report to the relevant MEC, we then also request the portfolio, the chairperson of the portfolio committee, to give us audience to allow us to also present the report. I think I could have done it deliberately not to mention the provincial legislature, because our experience, and this, people know me, I'm very honest when I say things. I tell you straight what the issues are. Our experience in other provinces is that reaching out to provincial legislatures have not yielded results. We've presented our inquiry reports in 4 provinces. One province towards the north of the country told us straight when I presented the report, an inquiry report, no, you're at the wrong place. We don't have oversight over local government. The Portfolio Committee for Cooperative Governance in that province said, we don't have oversight over municipalities. It is the department. We have oversight over the department. The corporate services, not corporate service, cooperative governance department in the province. And we will ask them to monitor the implementation of your recommendations, and they will then have to report to us. That is the attitude that we are getting from other legislatures. We have presented in the Free State, Northern Cape. We have tried to get an opportunity in the Northwest Province. We are still waiting for that opportunity. We have, and a few other provinces as well. So we really hope, and I know the provincial manager has only spoken positively about the the Eastern Cape legislature. I mean, I'm aware about the MOU. I'm aware she has informed us about engagement that she has had with a number of portfolio committees in the provincial legislature, and she is extremely positive about the interactions that she has had with the provincial legislature. I am not so positive about interactions with provincial legislatures and portfolio committees in legislature because of the engagements we have had and not had with provincial legislatures. And I really hope that this province will be different. I really hope this province will be different. We have seen results when we sought the intervention of portfolio committees in the National Assembly and the Select Committee in the NCOP. Again, they invited us to accompany them. I've made many presentations in settings like these, where communities were present, where the municipalities, political leadership, administrative leadership were in attendance. We presented, and what was done by the select committee was to table a recommendation to the full house of the NCOP that our recommendation should be implemented, and I'm really hoping that that will also happen in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. And the only, and I'm not criticizing this legislature, the information I have received from Dr. Carter is only positive about the engagement she has had with the provincial legislature. But I must say it, our interaction with other portfolio committees of other legislatures have not been positive. And that is why we decided to escalate it and to involve Parliament. So from our side, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you that everything possible is being done. Everything possible is being done. I only see my wife on a Saturday and perhaps half of a Sunday, because we visit each and every municipality in this country, Mr. Mukhori and I, on a regular basis. All of them we try to visit. And I can assure you what you are experiencing in this municipality is also happening in other municipalities. We've been on carte blanche about the sewage villages in Solplaatjie, Kimberley. People are living in dams of sewage in Solplaatjie, and we've recommended to the Premier that he should declare the sewage villages in Solplaatjie as a provincial state of disaster. We're still waiting for him to also implement our recommendations. People are suffering. They brought to the inquiry, they brought video clips of where they live in dams of sewage. And if this is a caring government, which they claim to be, they will not allow that. They will not allow that to happen. If this is a caring municipality, they will not allow you to use the bucket toilet system. They will not allow that. But we have witnessed the characteristics of an uncaring municipality. We have witnessed in South Africa the characteristics of uncaring local government. That is the reality. There is not one municipality, and I include all the provinces in this country because I have visited all the municipalities. There is not one municipality in this country where there are no human rights violations. I've been to these areas. I've been to Bloemfontein and Kraaifontein in Cape Town and Khayelitsha. I've been there. Sewage villages everywhere. That is the reality of local government in South Africa at the moment. And again, we give you the commitment through Dr. Carter's office that we will continue to monitor the implementation of our recommendations. But we need the support of the provincial legislature. We do. We need the support of Parliament. We need the support of the executive, the MECs and the Premier and the province. We need the support of ministers, the executive at national level. You know, and I was saying last week when I addressed a conference in Joburg, and also yesterday when we subpoenaed another municipality in this province, that many people criticize the Department of Water and Sanitation. Many do. But if it wasn't for the intervention of the Department of Water and Sanitation in this country, can you imagine what the state of water and sanitation would have been in South Africa? Because they are investing billions of rands on an annual basis just to upgrade infrastructure, to build new infrastructure. Can you imagine? And And that alone is an indictment on municipalities. What are they actually doing with their money? If it's not for the intervention of a national government department, my word, I don't know what this town, and I have a very soft spot for this town. I've been to this town. I've been to this university. My greatest sporting achievement was at this university. We simply, as an oversight body, cannot allow this to continue. We simply cannot, and I'm not here to buy your faces. You know, when you go onto the internet and you watch my interviews and you read our reports, we are really holding government accountable. We are the only voice that really speaks for the vulnerable, the marginalized. So we are with you on this journey. We appreciate your attendance. We appreciate the attendance of the Makana local municipality. We appreciate the attendance of the provincial legislature. Thank you so much to Dr. Carter and Advocate Mpondo and the Eastern Cape Provincial Office for arranging this, for showing, for illustrating that they are caring about this municipality, for bringing me here 2 years ago, bringing the chairperson here. That's also true. But thank you for all the arrangements. We really appreciate. Also, thank you to Mr. Pismo Mugodi. He is an extremely valuable resource in the Human Rights Commission. Very valuable resource. Thank you so much for your attendance. We will be back. Please also liaise with the Eastern Cape Provincial Office. If there's anything you would like to bring to their attention, we will not allow this situation to continue. Thank you.
Saved, I'm sure next door somewhere, but we'll double check and then come back and announce. Thank you so much.